add Jameis Winston to their organization, they will select a quarterback with their first-round pick.
New York Giants have agreed to a 2-year, $8 million deal with Jameis Winston. The deal can be worth up to $16 million with incentives.
It's official, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Giants officially made their decision at the quarterback position. And, well, it's not what you guys thought it would be.
This is your man.
Yes.
Look at the screen.
That's mine. I'm gonna stick beside him.
And that's what you're going to settle for.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
Obviously, we've seen scenarios like this before in the NFL. It's eerily reminiscent as to what happened last year, and it kind of gives us a gigantic hint as to who the New York Giants are targeting in the 2025 NFL Draft. So before we get to the content, we dropped our third baseball video on Uni Diamond Talk. We're still giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on that channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? New York Giants fans are in complete disarray. They're kind of panicking, and I can't understand why for the life of me. You see, there's a huge question as to who the New York Giants were going to try to lure over as their quarterback this year. And it's kind of difficult to do such a thing when the New York Giants don't really have much of a pitch here. I mean, their pitch here is pretty much,
come over and play for the Giants and chuck the ball to Malik Neighbors a bunch.
Or you could throw the ball to the guy that we decided to pay over Saquon Barkley, behind a patchwork below average offensive line. The New York Giants had the 4th worst offensive line in the NFL this past year. And it's primarily because it seems like everything their general manager decides to touch turns into absolute dog shit. It's kind of unfortunate because some of these decisions aren't even bad decisions. I mean, for example, Joe Schoen decided to trade for Darren Waller, and, well, Darren Waller had one injury-riddled season, and then he decided to retire. To become a rapper?
Tonight we opened up and we knew.
Joe Schoen decided to draft Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, and, well, Evan Neal's been a colossal bust, but at the time, people were saying that was a huge steal. And Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't been the greatest so far. Joe Schoen decided to let Saquon Barkley walk to his division rival and let HBO embarrass him consistently over it.
I'm gonna have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. He's the most popular player we have by far. Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that they let this clip of his son giving him pretty good draft advice actually air on national television.
What do you want me to take? Give me a name. Jaden Daniels. Trade up and get him. Okay, if Jaden Daniels... I'll only get this job once. I'm going to try to win.
I think the only move that Joe Schoen made that wasn't a complete and utter catastrophe was honestly a layup when he decided to trade a 2nd and a 5th round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft to the Carolina Panthers for Brian Burns, who turned out to be exactly what they expected so far. But apart from that, it's been a huge disaster under the Joe Schoen era. Thankfully, Malik Neighbors was a hit, but their gamble on Daniel Jones was a huge miss. And whenever you're a team that has consistently been missing on their roster transactions for a considerable amount of time, it's kind of difficult to sell a quarterback on coming to play for your team, especially when your 2 division rivals made it to the NFC Championship. So at first, the New York Giants were trying to convince Matthew Stafford to leave the LA Rams and come play for them, which kind of seemed like a rough sell to begin with. Following that, they decided to try to convince Aaron Rodgers to play for them, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers would rather retire than put himself in this situation. So the only decision that they had left was an individual that wasn't going to necessarily lead them to a Super Bowl, but hey, at least you'll keep the vibes high as the team is trying to tank. So the Giants announced that they're signing Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $8 million deal. And some fans are a little annoyed about this because they're convinced that Jameis Winston is going to be their future under center. And I can't really blame them. I mean, you never know what you're going to get with Jameis Winston under center, at least on the football field. I know for a fact off of the football field, you'll always get one hell of a crazy soundbite from him, whether it's his perspective on Popeyes.
P-O-P-E-Y-E-S. That's 7 letters. 7 letters. And one represents an excellent, delicious wing flavor. Popeyes is the official wing of watching football. Let's eat one. Let's eat some wings. Together.
But you know what? We never get the opportunity to show how funny this guy is on this YouTube channel. And to be honest, it's the offseason, so f it. Here's a tribute to how funny Jameis Winston truly is.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere. So we got to keep on pushing through and being resilient.
Well, I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
I mean, bro, this guy isn't trying to win a Super Bowl. He's just happy to be out there, for crying out loud.
I'm so happy and grateful that the Lord has blessed me to play in some snow, to be in true football weather in Cleveland, Ohio, at Huntington Bank Field, to give him the glory. It's a beautiful day.
And I mean, bro, this guy is like the ultimate teammate. He stuck up for Deshaun Watson, for Christ's sake.
I tell myself every morning, what I want for myself, I want for everyone. And I do not want the treatment that Deshaun Watson has received from these passionate fans. I know you love this game. When I first got here, I knew these were some amazing fans. But Deshaun was treated badly. And now he has to overcome another obstacle. So I'm going to support him. I'm going to lift him up. And I'm going to be there for him. Because I see the way he fights. I see the way that he works. And I know who he is as a person and as an NFL quarterback. And that's all I have to say to address him. I'm sending up my prayers. I already prayed for his leg, and I will continue.
All I'm saying is, no matter what happens, Jameis Winston is some guy that's going to keep you in the locker room and keep the vibes high as your team is tanking. I honestly think he's just trying to collect as many checks as he possibly can before he becomes the most sought-out free agent in sports media. While off the field, you'll get consistent production from Jameis Winston. On the field, he has always been the picture of inconsistency. I mean, his best season to date was the 2019 season, his final season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he threw for over 5,000 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. But like, if you think he's funny off of the field, you should take a look at him on the field, because Jameis Winston is one of the most unique talents you'll ever seen. He'll come out and lead your 1-6 team to a 29-24 victory over the Baltimore Ravens while throwing 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and over 300 passing yards in 1 week. And then in the very next week, he'll throw 3 interceptions and be the sole reason you lost to another team. It's kind of crazy because look at what Jameis Winston said after defeating the Baltimore Ravens.
When I am making great decisions one play at a time, I am a great NFL quarterback. I am certain of that.
And as fun as this would be, I really hate to break it to Giants fans, this clearly isn't what your future is at the QB position. We've seen this script before. It's something that happens over and over again. You didn't sign Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $50 million contract. You signed him to a 2-year, $8 million contract. This is a backup QB salary. So this is an indication that the Giants know that their quarterback of the future is not going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's not someone that you can find in free agency. It could be Jameis Winston if they decide to go a different direction, or if someone decides to leapfrog them in the NFL draft. As a matter of fact, Mel Kiper explains perfectly who the #1 option is for the New York Giants here.
Great fit, Greeny. I think the pressure, the big stage, the bright lights, he's dealt with all that. That's Shedeur Sanders. That's who he is. Shedeur Sanders, I think he's a perfect fit.
Shedeur Sanders, for some reason, is one of the most polarizing prospects in this year's NFL draft, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I think it's because he's not the home run prospect that Caleb Williams was or Trevor Lawrence was when they came out of the NFL draft. He's not Andrew Luck, and since we're a season removed from an NFL draft that was very deep at the quarterback position, when you go from that to Shedeur Sanders, who mainly impresses you once you do a deeper dive into his game, some fans aren't as excited about him.
My guess is we get 3 in the top 15. 3 in the top 15 is my guess. Where Shedeur Sanders goes is the biggest draft question mark that I could remember in a very, very long time. But people have a lot of questions. He is for sure talented. He has put 2 programs on his actual back, led them back to national prominence. You know, it's not a slam dunk #1 overall selection. So like, could Shedeur Sanders go 2 to Cleveland? Possible. 3 to the Giants? Possible. Like, it is absolutely fascinating. And a month out now, I have absolutely no idea.
If you know ball, then you'd understand why Shedeur Sanders is such an attractive prospect and why he just makes so much sense for the New York Giants, primarily because the situation that he was in Colorado is very similar to the situation he would get drafted to with the New York Giants. It's honestly pretty impressive how similar these situations are. Shedeur Sanders in Colorado's offense had one incredible wide receiver in Travis Hunter and a terrible offensive line. But despite having a terrible offensive line, Shedeur Sanders' completion percentage throughout college is absolutely mental. I mean, he had an obscene 70.1% completion percentage behind one of the worst offensive lines in the association. I mean, it's an offensive line that both Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter memed mercilessly. 70.1% behind a clean pocket is already impressive, but Shedeur Sanders' percentage is so bizarre that he's in the 98th percentile of all quarterbacks entering the NFL draft since the new millennium. Now, whenever he's given a clean pocket, Sanders was able to complete 81% of his throws and showed an incredible ability as an elite decision maker. Some people are saying he's the next coming of Tom Brady. Maybe his play style has something to do with the mentorship that Tom Brady has provided him, and I think the mentorship goes way far and beyond just this.
Tom, do you think a college kid needs a phantom?
I think he needs to get his ass in the film room and spend as much time in there as possible. Less time in the car.
And I'm not here to say he's the next coming of Tom Brady. I'm here to say that Shedeur Sanders' talent isn't necessarily the fact that he could throw a football 80 yards down the field. I think it's more the fact of what he was able to do with such limited resources in Colorado. He's shown an ability to go through his progressions quickly and getting the ball out at an average speed of 2.35 seconds per throw. But what's probably the most impressive about Shedeur Sanders is a lot of his game isn't window dressing. Some fans are saying,
Mike, he just checked the ball down a bunch.
But that isn't necessarily true. He showed us the fact that he was perfectly capable of making the right football play each and every time. I think the best resource of this is none other than the QB School, which is actually one of my favorite YouTube channels. In his scouting report on Shedeur, he even mentions how the Colorado offense was static. There's little to no motion or shifts. There was open edges and no tight ends. There wasn't a running game. The offensive line was really terrible. They really struggled with stunts. There was a limited number of plays and concepts, and there was little pocket movement. And when you compare that to the New York Giants offense, it just seems like such a perfect fit. He possesses tremendous confidence, but he consistently makes the right football play. According to Lance Zierlein, his known weaknesses are the fact that he's a little prone to playing hero ball, which makes a lot of sense considering that the individual that won the Heisman Trophy was on his team. So there were times where he would just force the ball to Travis Hunter and hope he would make a play. And like some of his critiques have to do with that. I mean, he has completions on tape that will be interceptions in the pros. He needs to become okay with taking profits and moving on. And he appears too confident in his off-platform game despite a lack of zip. What's interesting is Shedeur was able to thrive in Colorado's offense despite not being the most athletic QB. He's not necessarily known for his speed. And unlike Caleb Williams or players that fit the Patrick Mahomes archetype, he wasn't that great at escaping the pocket and making plays down the field. And he was too willing to take a big sack instead of throwing the football away, which is all stuff that could be fixed in the pros. I personally think this is a perfect fit for the New York Giants, and as a result, I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants eventually made a trade moving up to the #1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft so they can ensure that they secure Shedeur Sanders. As opposed to allowing the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns to seal their fate, it wouldn't take that much draft capital to move up to the #1 overall pick, but when you're the New York Giants and you have as many holes on your roster as the Giants currently have, I could also understand the argument of trying to keep as much of your assets as humanly possible, so they're kind of playing a dangerous game here. At the end of the day, I don't think there's a lot of teams that love the quarterback prospects so much in this year's NFL draft that they'd be willing to move up to the top 3. The Tennessee Titans have already been trying like hell to shop the #1 overall pick, and this isn't something that they've been even smoke screening so much. I mean, in the beginning of February, we heard that the Tennessee Titans are open to potentially trading the #1 pick in the 2025 NFL draft, and they're expected to receive calls. But they haven't really been so successful in doing so, and honestly, the Titans offseason has been so interesting so far. It's like one of those teams that are trying to keep all their options open because they're not necessarily sure what their future is going to hold. It's like one of those teams that are just making a bunch of moves moves that really just seems very head scratching, to say the least. I mean, look, respectfully, I'm very happy for Dan Moore Jr. getting an $80 million bag, and I can understand trying to shore up your offensive line as much as you can, but Dan Moore Jr. isn't an $80 million left tackle, so why would you give him $80 million to begin with? I guess they're trying to do everything that they possibly can to ensure that if they were to select a quarterback with the #1 overall pick, which everyone's presuming is going to be Cam Ward, then that quarterback will be comfortable. They brought in Kevin Zeitler as well in order to fix the 11th worst ranked offensive line in the NFL. I don't necessarily know how I feel about the decision making that factored into it, because following this decision, Dan Moore has gone viral for how many sacks and pressures he's given up last year. So I don't necessarily know if this was the right decision, but I guess I give credit to the Titans for trying to do whatever it takes to boost their offensive line. Regardless, the reason I'm going off on this tangent is either the Tennessee Titans are going to be focused on selecting a quarterback with the #1 overall pick, or they're going to throw Will Levis into the fire once again. I don't think they're going to select Shedeur Sanders with the #1 overall pick. It seems like he's going to fall right into the Giants' lap, and it seems like Jameis Winston is going to be his mentor. If you're a Giants fan, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this plan moving forward? Do you think you guys are ready for a brand new franchise QB, or would you prefer that the Giants spent that #3 overall pick differently? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.